hyperactive, or are you a teacher of such a child? Then this session is for you. In this session, we'll find out techniques on how to channelize their energy and creativity in the right direction without destroying their childhood. We have with us Dr. Kanwal Kaisser, who will be speaking about understanding and managing hyperactive kids. Dr. Kanwal Kaisser is a medical doctor by profession and humanity on various folds. She's a dynamic orator, a preacher who appears on various TV channels as guests and panel members like ATV, Pegam TV, etc., representing Islam for more than 12 years, mashallah. She's currently affiliated with Al Huda International Welfare Foundation, Pakistan, as Director Hamare Bachche Department. Her main field is about training parents how to bring up children as better humans and Muslims. I now request Dr. Kanwal Kaisser to please begin the session.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Amma ba'd. Fa'auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri. Wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes, sister, we can hear you.
Okay, alhamdulillah. First of all, I would like to thank Online University for giving me this opportunity to be on the forum, and for the last 2 years I'm glued to my own computer. I'm listening to one session after the other and amazing talks, mashallah. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm a pediatrician by profession, but for past 18 years I'm dealing with children. I'm teaching them in weekend school and also training teachers and mothers. And this is one area that I feel is where we need to refine ourselves and also understand why our children are so hyperactive. And looking at all the talks on anxiety and depression, though it's not clinical, but many parents, they feel a lot of anxiety and depression because their kids are hyperactive. So in this session, what I would expect you to learn is basically identify various alternative reasons for hyperactivity in children. We would also like to look into the core characteristics of the hyperactive tactile child. And yes, a little assessment into identifying a tactile child, and also generate ideas of how we can support this child at home as well as in school area. Now, basically, what you need to understand as a parent or as a teacher or even a mentor is that when you are looking at children, the younger they are, the more hyperactive they are. And as they grow older, they are going to adopt any one of the 3 learning styles, which are the basic learning styles in the childhood. They can be visual, or they might be auditory, or they might be kinesthetic, tactile in nature. So, and there are many factors which are going to gear them towards these styles. Number one, that's definitely what is there in their own temperament and their own learning style, which is predominant. Secondly, the learning style of the parent, which is also going to have an impact on the children and also the home environment. But by and what we see is that majority of the children are the visual learners, about 40+%. They will look at a picture or anything to see, and they will learn through it. And majority of them are boys. So drawings, pictures, books, videos, that is their predominant way of learning. Then we have about 30+% of children who are auditory learners. And these are the kids who love your voice. The moment you start speaking, and the kids, they settle down, they're ready to listen to you, they're ready to respond to you. And yes, we have seen in experience, majority of them are girls. Now for us, the problematic area is these kinesthetic tactile learners, which are about 25% of any population. And they are the ones who are basically action-based, and they learn through a lot of activities. Studies say that by large, it is equally divided among the boys as well as the girls. But in our experience, usually we have seen it to be the boys. Why it is important for us to talk about these tactile kinesthetic learners, because many a time we look at any tactile or hyperactive child and we immediately run to label them as dyslexic or having ADD or ADHD, because they share many similar features. So if you look at any tactile kinesthetic hyperactive child, what are you going to see? This is a child who is continuously moving. He just simply can't sit still. And this is like something which really bothers a lot of mothers. They learn through touch as well as talk, and they learn best by doing things. And for that, we see that they use their gross motor muscles as well as their fine motor muscles. And he has an excellent physical memory. And they also have great hand-eye coordination, and they are very quick in their reactions. Typical history for any parent or teacher with this kind of a child is that he is going to be unsuccessful or not happy at all in a traditional kind of a school environment. And that is why many parents, if they are living in especially subcontinent into Pak, they are not usually happy, because over here in our school systems, we have children where the teachers expect them just to sit. Apart from that, even in the home environment, there are a lot of parents who expect their children to just sit on the table for like straight 2 hours and finish off their work and then get off. And for these children, this is like a very difficult area. They zone out when they're listening to a teacher for a long period of time, and they may start daydreaming or even doodling. They have difficulty in concentrating on the paper and pencil assignments. They will fidget, they are going to be wiggly, they will kick, and they're going to be out of their seats all the time. And they will interrupt a student or a teacher. And this is when the mother will be going in the school environment, and she'll be constantly coming back with these complaints, and she'll be feeling totally lost and helpless as to what she's supposed to do. And many, they drop things on purpose as well. Typically, the teacher would tell the mother, your child is very intelligent, but every few minutes, he wants to go out. He is not serious in my classroom environment. He either needs to go to washroom, or is playing with his stationery, or wants to run any form of errand that I have in my classroom environment. If you look at a lot of studies, what we find out is that about 20 to 30% of the students in the environment of the school, they are hyperactive. As I told you earlier as well, that overall you would always find about 25% of the children who will show hyperactivity. But as I have put up the study in front of you, that we find out that many of them, like 8% of them, they keep having this hyperactivity even when they enter adolescent period. Why? Because a lot of these children are mishandled, or they are not given the right direction that they should be. Let us try to understand hyperactivity by large, or what is happening, what is the scenario for us in the environment. How come there is so much hyperactivity around us now? Many a times when you're sitting with your own parents, and they look at their grandkids, and then they look at you and they give you this expression, why is your kid so hyperactive? ये तुम्हारे बच्चे को क्या मसला है? This is like a very typical scenario that we experience with our parents. And many a time the parents are loaded with guilt. They don't know where to strike the right balance. So we have to see that, yes, hyperactivity has always existed, but with our lifestyle change, we are facing more problems. Why? Because we have dysfunctional families. You know, the father is working, mom is working. When we are home, we have our own set of priorities. We are not able to give focused time to our children, our families. We also see that there are high demands on children. You know, we expect them to do so many things the whole day. And there is hardly any time or focused time that the kids have where they do some focused activities. We are living in the times of chemical and industrial pollution, which is also having an impact on us. Our kids, we also see that previously they were termed just lazy or stupid. and many a time they would drop out from the school and they were just going for some jobs, or just quitting their education because of that. Now, while we are talking about children who are actually diagnosed as hyperactive tactile kinesthetic of category, let us try to rule out some common things which can make any child hyperactive, like a sudden change in child's life. He was the only sibling and you have another baby at home, so definitely this child is going to get hyperactive. Or you change the school of the child, or there is a death in the family, or there is a sickness in the family, or anything that is going to have an impact on the child will make him hyperactive. Then any medical cause, he's on some sort of medication for asthma or any other illness, and he is taking those, whenever he's on medication, you have to definitely check with your doctor and also inform in the school that my kid is going to be a little hyperactive because of this medication he's on. You also have to rule out hearing or visual problems, because children, they won't be able to express themselves, "Mom, I can't see well," or "I can't hear well." But obviously, because their communication will be suffering because of the hearing or the visual problems, so these children will come to you with the hyperactivity. Definitely in our times, if the kids are bored, they are going to be hyperactive. And many mothers, they do experience this thing. You're visiting some of your friend and there are no kids, the age of your kids, and your kid is fidgeting and he's restless and doesn't want to stick there. Any form of anxiety or depression is also going to make children hyperactive. Food, the junk food that we are on and our kids are on, all the shortcut foods, you have to cut out all those foods because they are making our kids hyperactive. The candies, the chocolates, there has to be a ruling system for your children when and how and where they can have it. And yes, media exposure. We are living in the times when everything is about fast lifestyle. You turn on the media and everything is moving fast. Everything, the food is fast, the media is fast, the picture quality is fast. So everything is having an impact on these children, and they are also becoming fast. Now with that, we also need to understand how much a child needs to move. Because many a time I come across these moms who consult me and they come to me in a lot of panic and they're like, my child is tactile hyperactive kinesthetic. They have no idea how much the normal child should be moving. And many a times when I look at those children, they look so appropriate for their own age. So for all the moms out there, you need to understand, and also, yes, the fathers, children attention span is related to their age. Okay. Approximately, it is 3 to 5 minutes per year. Like for example, if you have a child who is 5 years age, so 5 into 3 or 5 into 5. So it will be 15 to 25 minutes. A child 5 years of age can sit at a stretch for 15 to 25 minutes. But this attention span is going to be dependent upon the level of interest that you have created. For example, your child loves maths. So he will sit not just for 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. But if he hates maths or any other subject, within 5 minutes, he will start fidgeting. And you will start labeling him as a hyperactive one. Also remember, if our body is inactive for 20 minutes, they decline in the neural communication. So it's Allah's system of keeping us in the motion so that we have this neural activity in our brain. And movements, they usually allow the students to refocus and strengthen their ability to pay attention. Like in the classroom environment, when especially the teachers, they complain to you that your kid moves a lot. What you have to do is look at the scores of your child. If he's doing well, you have to request the teacher to ignore it, especially if he's not interfering with the studies or the classroom environment or affecting other students. If he's just moving in his own chair, is he fidgety, a little bit of fidget is there, then it shouldn't worry the teacher or anyone. Now, where is the problem? When we should be more concerned about it? As I told you at the very beginning that I'm no expert in ADHD, And I would request, if you don't ask me questions on that, I'm working more on the preventive side. Why? Because this is a specialized field. If you feel that your child has diagnosed ADHD, you can benefit from the things that I'm going to tell you, the techniques that I'm going to tell you, but you definitely need to go to the experts for that. Now, so far, the things that we have covered are related to the kids who are normal, who don't have any issue in their brain, and they are just hyperactive for some normal reason. And if you work on those areas, you will definitely feel your children settling down. But when it gets tricky is when there is actually a rewiring or a different wiring system present in the brain of the children. And these are the children who would be either just tactile, kinesthetic, hyperactive, or they have a tendency to develop ADHD. And a lot of people who are working on ADHD, they say, if you work on all those areas that we are going to be talking about, you will be able to either prevent ADHD if it is going to be of the mild nature, or even if your child is diagnosed with ADHD and you work on all those areas, you will inshallah see a lot of improvement in these kids. So number one thing that you have to understand is you might have a child who apparently looks normal, but there is a different wiring or different connections that are there in his brains. Now, what your job is to let the same wiring, the same connection stay there, but become functional. What we usually try to do is, initially, we are just juggling with the things in a very haphazard manner. Now, there are a lot of more complicated wiring that starts happening over there in the brain, and then we don't know where to pick the right thread or how to streamline it. So how do we know? There are certain things that we need to understand about a child who is more than just a hyperactive child. Now, I'm using three terms as well: hyperactive, tactile, kinesthetic. Is there any difference in between these three terms? Yes, very fine difference. Hyperactive, probably a child who's just jumpy. Tactile, who is more jumpy. And then kinesthetic, who has some more features of it. But there is such a fine line that probably the experts are going to be more into it. If they're running the proper test, they will be able to diagnose it. But for us, we can use all these three terms and try to just work on our children in all these areas. The first area that we need to understand is the issue of inattention. What am I supposed to do about this? Let us try to understand what are the issues we face. There is poor attention to task and its detail. You will tell your child to do a certain thing, and he is not going to be attentive. And if you give him any details, pull out your copy, do your work, and then put it back in your bag. And you will immediately feel that he is not paying attention. Apparently, he will seem like not listening. Many a times you'll get this complaint from the school. The teacher will say, your child looks very intelligent, but he doesn't pay attention. And there is a lot of self-organization for this child is a very poor area. And this child is going to avoid the tasks which require sustained mental effort. It could be doing some homework, or if you give these children puzzles, sometimes when you see that the child is not paying attention, and we look at other normal children who are at length sitting with the puzzles and working on them, and we think maybe, I'll get my kid a puzzle and this child will work on it. But no, sorry, this child is not going to be, he's going to dread working on puzzles. He will be very easily distracted. Something happening in the next room or in the basement or in the next house is going to be very, very appealing for him. And he cannot finish tasks. And this is, again, a major problem for the moms when they go to the school and the teacher has some exams or assessment, and they say that, there were 10 questions and they were very straightforward questions and he didn't complete them. And I had given him some reminders as well. And they seem forgetful, but their memory testing is normal. And they are sometimes noisy, they can't play, or they work quietly. Now, second important area for these children is they are very impulsive. How do we know that? How do we assess that? They blurt out answers too soon. And that really irritates teachers or adults or the senior people in the house. And they fail to wait for their turns, whether they are in a queue or you are at home serving all the kids something, and or they want to talk to you about something. They will interrupt or intrude on others' activities. They're going to be talking excessively. And when they're talking excessively, they are not looking at the needs around the environment. Sometimes the people are going to look at your kid and think, this kid is weird, and he's just talking without noticing that this is a place where we need to be quiet. Third important area for these children is they are overactive. We have already, as such, talked about it. But what is there in this overactivity? They fidget, they squirm, they leave the seat in the classroom or even at home in the meal times when everyone is sitting and they wouldn't want to be there with you. They would run or climb the stairs rather than walking nicely, or they are always on the jumpy. And they persistent over activity, and so that what happening is that the normal social demands, they are not even concerned about it. Okay, a little bit of memory activity that I want to play with you. I really want you to focus on this thing. Now, I'm going to give you a scenario of a mother who is waking up her son in the morning for the school, and look at the instructions she is giving to her son. Ahmed, get up, get up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Hurry up. You have to say your dua and rush to the washroom. Okay, I'm going to make you a sandwich right now. And would you like to have a milk with it? And now the mother has gone to the kitchen. Ahmed, she's calling out from the kitchen. Ahmed, make sure you brush your teeth. Ahmed, your shoes are there in the rack. Ahmed, I hope you have woken up your sister. Ahmed, tell your dad that he has to be up in time. Ahmed, you need sandwich, you need tuna, or you need veggies in it. Ahmed, did you make your dua when you went inside to the washroom? Ahmed. Okay, what about your stationery? Where's your maths copy? Did you put that maths copy inside there? Ahmed, the milk is over there. Ahmed, you haven't finished your milk. Ahmed, where is your shirt? Ahmed, you are wearing the wrong thing. Ahmed, where did you put this pencil? Ahmed, your pen is there. Your eraser is there. Where's your sister? Ahmed, did you tell your sister to do all the things that I have already told you to do? Now we are loading our children with instructions after instructions after instruction. Trust me, if I tell any one of you to repeat exactly what I said or do exactly what I said, you will be lost in a while. And you'll tell me, excuse me, can you slow down? Can you give me one thing at a moment? Would you wait so that I finish your one job and then we move on to the next job? Now, if a normal kid cannot cope with the instructions that we give to them, either as a parent or as a teacher, what do you expect with this child who is kinesthetic, tactile, hyperactive? Because he has one issue in his brain wiring, and that is working memory deficit. What is this working memory? Now, this is one area which is really new, and again, a lot of psychologists are working on it. Working memory is your short-term memory, and this is the memory which is important memory, which helps us do a certain thing right away there and then. So if you look at this working memory, basically what happens is, because there is a deficit of this working memory, the cognitive representation, it fades away quickly, so that the children's behavior is going to be totally disorganized. He is not able to comprehend, he just forgets it. And because of this failed working memory, the child is not able to give attention to what he was supposed to do, because he'll be just like sitting and thinking, what was I supposed to do? And because he is not able to focus on that area, he will divert his attention towards any other stimulus which is either interesting or which is catching his attention, so that he is sort of avoiding or escaping from whatever was asked of him or whatever is expected of him. So if you look at 4 missing factors over there, number 1, since there is no working memory, it is not really working properly, he cannot hold the rules for a long period of time. And this is an issue in school and at home, because many a time the mentors or the teachers and the parents, they're frustrated. They're like, I have told him 100 times, I have told him 1,000 times. And they keep calling the name of the child and keep telling him, how many times do I have to tell you? Why don't you understand this thing? What do I do? Do you want me to engrave it somewhere? Second important thing we find out is there is no internalization of speech. That means they don't have any self-talk to repeat instructions. Now, as a normal human being, what we do, somebody tells you to do something. Somebody tells you to bring something from the room. Bring me a book, so and so book. So when you're going there, when you're walking toward that room, what you're doing is you're having a self-talk. Okay, I have to get this book. It's probably going to be on that shelf. No, I think it's on that drawer. No, should I get this book or should I also get another book? So this self-talk helps us stay connected to our working memory, and we are able to respond. Now, this child, he doesn't have a self-talk. So the working memory is deficit is there, then he doesn't have a self-talk. And then third thing, there is no self-regulation activity. What is the self-regulation activity? He cannot do it for any consequences. He's not thinking about the consequences. In the same example, if somebody's asked me to fetch the book, this is there in my working memory, I have to get the book. While I'm going toward that room to get the book, I am having a self-talk. In which shelf, in which drawer, which one? Should I just take this one book or should I also take in the other book? And then I also have a self-regulation activity. When I bring back the book, my mom is going to be happy. My husband will have a smile on his face. If I bring the wrong book, somebody can get upset with me. This is self-regulation. Now, this child doesn't have self-regulation. He cannot think that somebody would be shouting at me, would get upset with me, would get happy with me, because we keep offering rewards or sometimes warn the children that if you don't do a certain thing, I'm going to be very angry with you or you'll be grounded. But these children are not able to comprehend that. And the fourth thing is reconstitution. They cannot improve anything in the light of the past experience. In the same example, again, if I'm bringing one book and I suddenly remember, last time my mom asked me to get this book, I held it very casually, I dropped it somewhere, or I got the wrong book, let me look for another similar book over there. So I'm going to be very cautious for the next time based on the reward or the punishment or the warning. But this child has total blackout on the past experience. So now imagine this whole scenario, because many a times when we look at these children, we get so much frustrated because of these areas. A couple of additional features that these children can have. They insist that the request be met, whatever they want it there and then. These children have a very poor self-esteem. Why? Because nobody's happy with them. The teacher, the children, even the parents, and what the child sees on the face of everyone is frustration, labeling, and he feels incompetent in handling anything that he's doing. He would have, because of that, mood swings and temper outbursts. Definitely depression and anxiety would be there. There is a lot of rejection by the peers. And because of the lack of this sustained effort, what he's doing is he's sometimes interpreted as lazy, or someone who is not responsible enough for his things, or he has oppositional behavior. And what really hurts me deeply is that we look at these children and we think all his behavior is willful. Ye jaan ke karta hai. He's doing everything intentionally. This is like something which really tears my heart apart when I look at these children and what is happening inside them, and they're so helpless, and we are not out there to help them. And yes, they're also injury or accident prone. They also have low behavior inhibition system. Now, this is very interesting to understand, though I've talked about it in the last slide. What is this behavior inhibition system? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed this system in us. We have a reward system and we have an inhibition system. The reward system gives us this urge to go ahead and do something because we'll be rewarded for that. And we have an inhibition system whenever we plan to do something which is against the norms or the rules, regulations, whatever has been given to us. This inhibition system tells us to put a stop to that behavior. But in these children, they have low behavior inhibition system, which means that they don't care. Their body is working in that manner that they feel that it is not important if they do it or they don't do it. So now imagine with all these factors that I've talked about, that this is going to bring in a low frustration tolerance in adults. I mean, like, it simply blows away your mind, because many a time the mothers ask me, how long would he be like this? Would he be like this all his life? What am I supposed to do? So this is what you're supposed to do. We need to have an integrated approach in the home environment, in the school, teacher, parent. Everyone is important in this area, and we all need to work together for these children. But yes, it demands a lot of parental involvement. And for the parental involvement, I want you to focus on these verses and the hadith. In Surah Al-Imran, verse number 190, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ard, wa ikhtilafil layli wan nahar, la ayatil li ulil albab. Behold, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the alternation of the night and the day, there are indeed signs for men of understanding. What is in this verse? These are the verses which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to recite at the time of the Hajj. And this is about nature. This is about coming back to basics. This is about simplifying our lifestyle and connecting more to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. Then in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 168, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us or warns us, Ya ayyuhan nas, kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba, wa la tattabi'u khutuwati shaytan, innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. O mankind, eat of what is on earth, lawful and good, and do not follow the footsteps of the evil one, for he is to you a clear enemy. So it's about eating habits, food habits, not just halal, but also tayyib, no junk. And then, wala tattabi'u khutuwati shaitan. Please do not follow the footsteps of shaitan. All this gluing to the screens, the media, and kind of activities that we have given to our children, and they are following the footsteps of shaitan. So they're becoming more hyperactive. We also need to remember in a hadith in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, no one is born except upon the natural instinct, and it is their parents which give them a deen. So again, we need to remember that our children are born in a very natural manner, but it is us who have to take this responsibility of working on them in the proper manner. So lifestyle change is required. Protein-rich breakfast, and we have to avoid junk and fine sugars. Do not introduce sugars, fine sugars to your children at a very young age. Let child walk to school if the school is close by, or if you can park at a little distance and then walk with your children. And have a quiet place at home for doing homework for the children. Give them 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes of break, so when they come back from school, so that they unwind and they can play a bit, and it should be like a physical activity that they should be involved in. Then listen to your children in a mindful manner, because many a times we are focused on so many of our commitments, and we're just going, theek hai, okay, yeah. And the kids say, Mom, are you listening? Dad, are you listening? And we're like, yeah, I'm listening. Utilize your child's natural energy in a healthy manner. And yes, you need to understand the age-appropriate rules and consequences. You need to read a lot of books, search on net, whatever is the age of your child, and read a lot about the age-appropriate behavior so that you understand your child for that particular age. And also help your child handle all the possible stresses in their life. And yes, for that, you will have to have good communication skills with them. Limit their electronic screen time and give a lot of opportunities for your children to be out in nature. And also understand that any family transitions, they are going to affect the child's mood, behavior, and ability to focus. Because many a time when we're thinking about our own stresses, we often look at these kids and they're like, we think like, he doesn't care or she doesn't care, but the kids do take all those impacts. Encourage child to read the books, and yes, show unconditional love to the child. But from the management point of view, what you're supposed to do, you have to look at the problematic behavior. What could be the cause of that behavior? Because this is very important. Sometimes we are looking at such a huge picture that we are not able to identify what am I supposed to do. uh, Jot down couple of the areas which are problematic for you, and then and then pick out the one which is, yes, problematic, but easiest of all. And first try to fix that. Then you also need to see what is your perception or attitude towards that particular problem. Are you handling or mishandling? And same goes for the teachers. And you also have to see how that behavior is managed at the present. You also have to identify child's perception, interest, and strength. Then prioritize the behavior that you're going to manage. And this way, inshallah, you'll be able to make a good management plan. Some general activities that you can do with your kids: you can have slogans, you can have stories, you can do tilawat with them, you can encourage your children to help other people. Your tone has to be very encouraging and motivating for them. Make models with them, mind maps, discussions, role plays, problem solving, flashcards, craft activity, read out to them. And these are going to be very healthy activities that you will generate in your family for the hyperactive tactile children. But there has to be a plan where you can guide the teachers what they can do. Three areas that they have to really work on: classroom management. They need to have flexible classroom seating for them, obviously away from all the visual distraction. Like, they shouldn't be seated close to the window so that they're always looking outside, or close to where the teacher is doing some sort of work. Their learning space has to be given to the child. And yes, you can have a buddy system in which you place him with a child who is more settled, and ask that child to help him. For the lesson plans, again, the teacher can have predictable routines and structure for the child, and also give them some static as well as some physical activities. I myself, when I'm teaching children in the weekend school, if I have a plan with me, which is like a very serious and static kind of a plan, so I tell the children at the very beginning, today the plan is very serious and I expect you to be seated properly in the class. But you know what? If you finish off this lesson in time and we save like 10 minutes from our class time, we'll do some activity. So I have noticed that many times this works. And the children, they sit settled, they attend the class, and then I have to definitely save last 10 minutes with them where we do some activity. Then you can also give them short, achievable targets. And whenever the children, they complete their tasks, you need to reward them very promptly. For the behavior, again, very minimum rules to these children. The desired behavior should be explicit and reinforced. Frequent feedback has to be given to the child. Small immediate rewards. Remember, their working memory is deficient. And then when you interact with them, you are calm, but yes, you are assertive, and you target one behavior area. Now, this is for the teacher. Sometimes your teacher would agree with this plan, but there are going to be times when she will be having a lot of things to juggling at her own hands, and she can tell you point blank that, I'm so sorry, you expect me to do all this for your kid. I have another 25, 30, or even 40 kids in my class. You can't expect me to ignore them and just focus on your kid. So you need to then work on your plan. And even if the teacher is cooperative, you have to still work side by side on your plan. What is the mother's plan? Because mother is the key person. And if the mother is working on that plan, she can involve all the family members, the father, the siblings, and even the grandparents. The larger family can also be part of it. Number one, what mother has to do is teach organizational skills to the child. How guide the child to organize his table, his desk, his bag, stationery, and in a very gentle manner. You're not going to say, I have reminded you. Do I have to remind you every day? How many times do I remind you? And then you can display a personal timetable. There could be a chart with the stars, stickers, ticks, and the kid can mark it and then keep placing his things. The rules for organization. Second important thing you have to do is work on building attention span at home. And for that, what you do is you give assignments one at a time, and that are going to be according to the attention span of the child. And I've given you the criterion for that. And you assess how much my child sits. And you can keep adding another 2 minutes or 3 minutes for another 3 to 4 months. Don't expect big leaps, because many times when the mothers, they sit with their kids for like 3 days, 4 days, and they come to me and they're like, he still has less attention span. And I sat with him, I worked with him, and when I asked them the time duration, it's like just a week. So I tell them that these changes are going to take long time. Then you break up big assignments into short tasks, and you vary the tasks, and you give very clear and concise instructions to the children, and obviously a very minimum exposure to the media. Third important area for the mother is addressing the hyperactivity. And for that, what you need to do is allow them legitimate opportunities for moving. And in between the tasks, you can give them short breaks where they can have some sort of physical activity. And you remind them about their work. You also remind them how they can check their work. Please do work on their self-esteem. Reassure them, encourage them, compliment them on positive behavior, and focus on your child's talents and accomplishments, and also look for the signs of stress and how you can wean off the frustration they are there facing, and also look for the leadership opportunities for your children in the community, in the home, as well as in the school environment. And most of all, what I want you to focus on is this hadith in which Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said there are 3 supplications which are answered, and one of them is supplication of a parent for his child. You know, many times I've seen parents really frustrated with the psychological issues or this hyperactivity issues of the children, especially because, you know, when they're not able to find good support structure within the community or home or even the school environment for their children. So dua is there. You know, you need to make repeated duas. And because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always going to respond, inshallah, to that. And the most beautiful dua, which have already been talked about in Surah Al-Furqan, verse number 75. This is my favorite dua. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. I love this dua because in this dua we say, oh Allah, oh my Rabb, make this my spouse and my children qurrata ayunin, the comfort of my eyes. You know, because sometimes we go for very specific dua. Oh Allah, please, I want my kids to have grades. Oh Allah, I want my kid to settle down, no, not be hyperactive. But maybe, you know, if he doesn't have hyperactivity, he might have another test for you. So if we say we want our children, our spouses to be qurrata ayunin, the comfort of our eyes. And then what? وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. In this dua, we're talking about family, we're talking about spouses, we're talking about children. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us that ask for what? Give me, make me imam of leader, imam of muttaqi. Give me leadership of muttaqi. That means we are asking for our family to have taqwa as well. We are asking for our family to listen to the value system that we are trying to generate for them. Subhanallah. This is like such a beautiful dua. And if we keep making this dua and we keep working on the techniques, inshallah, I'm hopeful that a lot of children who might have diagnosed activity, who are heading towards diagnosed ADHD, they might halt over there, they might slow down over there, or they might be able to develop a discipline in their life. And I will end up with this note. The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. So these children of ours are there with us so that we can help them, we can nurture them, and we can guide them, not just only for this life, but also for the hereafter, because that is our ultimate success. So we finish off over here, and I look forward to any questions that you have for me.
Jazakallah khair, Doctor. Alhamdulillah. This was an amazing session, and I hope and pray that everyone benefited from it. We'll now take a few questions. So please type your question in the chat box. Please make sure that the question is brief and related to the topic so we can maximize the benefit from this session, inshallah. There's a question that we have from
Mhm.
person. The person is asking, where are you from, and do you have any more resources that they can benefit from?
I'm from Pakistan, Islamabad. Um, Basically, this is all the gist of all the resources that I have collected with through my experience through working with the children for the last 18 years, and also observing some hyperactive children in the community and using these techniques. And trust me, if you work on all these techniques, you will be able to, inshallah, get very good results. These are field tested areas that I've touched upon. But apart from that, I would advise you to look into executive skills for the children. This is a new area that is developed, that a lot of psychologists, they're talking about it, that there are certain skills, if you start building in children from the very young age, these are the about 11 executive skills. So this helps them develop into more settled and responsible children or adults, I would say, in the long run.
The next question that we have is I have two children with ADHD, and it's really tough, especially where people don't understand. Perhaps she just wants some advice about it.
Yeah, I do understand. I think it is hard. You know, even if you have a child with just hyperactivity, it is difficult because our environment is not children friendly by large, even for a normal child. You know, and if you have children with ADHD, what you have to do is stop worrying about children, about people around you. Stop worrying about their judgment on you and your children. What you have to do is wherever you go, you focus on your children. You need to have clarity on their age appropriate practices. You also need to have clarity where their self-esteem might suffer. So you definitely need not take your children over there. And at the very same time, you need to have your own plan, and you need to keep going back and forth on the same plan, how it's working, is it effective or not. So stop worrying about what people say to you or how they treat you, for that matter. And similarly, many times I have seen mothers who ask me that that I have relatives who point blank say, make a remark which is very offensive, and my kid is also listening to that remark. So I usually advise those mothers that, you know, whenever anyone makes a remark, the first thing the child does is immediately look at the mother's expression. So what you have to do is give a deep look to your child, and through the eye contact, you just convey love to your child, that unconditional love. And after that, totally ignore what anyone said. If your child wants to talk about it, you can definitely talk to your child afterwards when you're all alone with him. And you can tell your child, I know, I'm sure you must be upset. I was also upset, but it's okay. You know, this is life. This is how people are sometime. And we need to just simply ignore what anyone says. I understand what kind of a being you are, what kind of a person you are, and you are intelligent, and you always focus on the positives of that child. So that should be good enough for you, inshallah.
Jazakillah khair. The next question we have is from Sister Fatima. She's
Mhm.
asking that is 3 years, I'm not sure if it's three, I think it's 13 years.
Hmm.
Is 13 years too late to help a child who displays these characteristics?
No, Alhamdulillah, no age is too late. Okay, you have to just apply this principle. But yes, if your child is already 13 years, entered into adolescent period, so she'll also be going through the hormonal changes of the adolescent period. You know, so she will be, any adolescent is going to be little hyperactive, will have mood swings, wouldn't want to be too much with the parents. So you have to understand that your effort will be multiplied at the end. You will have to have more patience. You will be working through different regimes than the ones which you will be applying for the very young kids. But it's a doable job. Don't give up on your kids. That's my final advice to you.
Next, we'll take a question from Sister Salva. She's asked how to deal with a child who does not suffer from ADHD but does
Mhm.
not listen to sit for his school homeworks, and when done shows aggressive behavior. How to deal with such a child?
Okay, it depends upon the age of the child. If this child is under 8 years of age, that means that first you have to assess how much time this child sits willingly for the work. Okay, so you have to expand that work. Second important thing that you have to see is the environment that you are giving to the child. Is there proper a system of rules and regulation and positive discipline techniques which are applied at home? Because if the positive discipline techniques are applied at home, it is very easy to handle the child, and then again you can expand onto his activities. Third important area is when you want your child to do something which he is not interested in, you never give him a choice. Okay, you never say let's study, because the child is playing. Obviously the child would say no, I don't want to study, and he'll start throwing tantrums onto you. What you do is you tell them homework time is by 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. Now they were playing, and 10 minutes before that time you start reminding them, okay, 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left. They will definitely tell you no mama, no mama, we still want to play. But then you give them one firm word: homework time. Now you will notice that the children, they will start coming in and they'll start settling down and studying. And when they're studying, you don't tell them let's study. You ask them first, you want to do science or maths, you want to do reading or writing. That means you're not actually giving them any other choice. The choice is between these two subjects. So these are some of the techniques that you work on. You also have to see what kind of pressure you are applying to your child. Let's say he's not scoring very well in a certain subject, and you want him to obviously study more on that subject, and he's avoiding it because you are expecting overnight results. So first you have to really sit down and see where the problem is, because there's so many factors which are involved in children not sitting and doing their work. So once you identify that area and you focus on that problem area, inshallah you will see that the child will gradually get into this mode of sitting down at the homework time and studying, inshallah.
Next question we have is from Sister Lena. She
Mhm.
says she's asked if you have any tips for for a pregnant woman so she can avoid the birth of a hyperactive child.
As I told you that there are some children who will, 25% of the children will be hyperactive, um, because they're brain wired that way. But what you can do is, yes, listen, be more natural in your lifestyle. Listen a lot to Quran, your duas. Develop a lot of patience in you, and develop patience in a very practical manner, because you will be dealing with the children and you will be dealing with a lot of issues of the children too. So prepare yourself well ahead of time in the parenting techniques. And at the same time, anger management at your part, then what kind of food you eat, everything is going to definitely have impact on the children. And once the kid is born, age appropriate practices are very, very important. If you're disciplined in your own lifestyle, if you're able to manage your own emotions, and then you're handling your children in age appropriate areas, well, inshallah, I'm hopeful that you will be able to manage many areas, even if your child is hyperactive, but gradually he will get into the auditory and visual learning style as well.
Jazakillah khair. Next, we have a question from a teacher. She's asking,
Mhm.
I'm a teacher of a child who seems to be hyperactive based on your presentation. He does not want to write anything at all, but his mother expects him to complete all the work given at school.
Mhm.
Though we follow an activity based learning, he still doesn't learn. He still doesn't listen. All he
Mhm.
wants to do is play in the ground. How do we
Mhm.
deal with him? Listens to any instruction and smiles at us when we are instructing him strictly.
Okay. For the teacher, I usually recommend the teachers that they have to build a strong teamwork with the parent, because there's certain things that you do in the classroom environment, and there's certain things that you expect the mothers to do in the home environment, and you have to teach mothers to be responsible for that, because sometimes it's like a boomerang. The teacher expects the mother to deal with all the issues of her child because this is her responsibility. And the mother, at the very same time, is returning the same responsibility towards the teacher, expecting her to educate her kid. So what you do is you divide those tasks. As you see in my presentation, I had clearly told you, I can move back in that presentation. If you see, these are the three areas for the mother. You give tips to the mother to help child have proper structured organization at home, help teach mother how to build attention span at home for the child, and address the hyperactivity. Many a times the mothers, they don't have proper structures at home. They don't have rules and regulations at home, or they're shouting and they're screaming at children. So you have to address those areas as well. And plus, for yourself as a teacher, you have to look into these three areas: the classroom management, the lesson plans, and the behavior management. And then you also have to have repeated meetings with the mother. Plus, you also have to identify the gap. Whichever grade the kid is in, you have to see how much is the gap. If the gap is too big, then the child is never going to be interested, because he is not able to comprehend anything. So probably what you have to do is fill in the gap as well. It will not happen overnight. It will take you a while to work on that area. But again, as I said earlier to everyone, it's a doable job.
Okay, inshallah. We have so many more questions. This one question from Sister Yolanda. Her daughter is 3 years old, whom she thinks is hyperactive, but she's confused because her daughter watches a lot of TV, and
Mhm.
TV might also induce the hyperactivity. So
Yeah.
she's not really sure.
Well, she has to be really sure, because TV is definitely not 100%, 200% responsible for hyperactivity. Also remember, sister, a 3-year-old child is going to be hyperactive. Usually children, they start settling down by the age of 7 years. If you remember that famous hadith in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam advised us to start teaching our children salah by the time of 7 years, because by 7 years, children, they start developing settled attention span. Before that, their attention span is very little. We do not expect children to, 3-year-old child is going to be hyper. So 3 would be like, 3 into 3 would be 9. After every 9 minutes, at the most, the child is going to move, or child is going to be hyper, or would need physical activity a lot. So what you have to do is, there are a lot of good lectures, I'm sure, on the online university, as well as you can listen to many speakers who have talked about the effects of the media and how to wean off your children. And there are a lot of research as well. You go through all those things, Google it, and what you have to do is start giving alternatives to your child. And once you give them structured alternatives, you will see that she will start settling down.
Inshallah, I hope so. So next we have a question from Sister Faria. She
Mhm.
asks, how can we tell whether a child has behavior issue or mental illness?
Okay, for behavior issue, what you have to do is, you have to first see your home environment. You can make a checklist for, as I said earlier, age appropriate behavior. And then you have to see that, are you handling the child according to the age appropriate behavior? What are the discipline techniques you are using? How you give consequences to your child? What are the rules which have been set up at home? And then the temperament of your child is also important. And once you have worked around all those areas and you're still having resistance from your child, there is no harm going to an expert and getting your child checked. Many a times, the experts would tell you that your kids are perfectly normal, and since you are stressed out for your own areas, and that is why probably your kid is also sounding like having some behavior issue. But if there is any behavior issue, you will definitely be able to get help that way, inshallah.
Next question we have is from Sister Uzma. You've
Mhm.
already covered this in the presentation. I'll just read out the question, so maybe you could add a few more things to what you've already mentioned in the presentation.
Mhm.
How to train our children to behave in class or school when every lesson is 40 minutes?
Okay, that's a very important question because in my weekend classes as well, because I have a group of about 50 to 80 ladies who volunteer with me, and we teach the children over here. And we every weekend we have about 300 children from all different age groups, starting from 1 year to uh, 13, 14 years, who come to us. Obviously, the younger ones are with their moms. And what I tell my teachers is, whenever we are writing down the lesson plan, I tell them that once you have written the lesson plan, you have to have 3 columns with you. One is, what do you have for auditory children? What do you have for visual children? And what do you have for tactile children? So we do blend of activities in all our lessons, and this is doable in any classroom environment. And for that, you don't have to do a huge activity or take them to play area all the time, or they should be jumping or doing something, but like visual. You show them something. It could be encyclopedia, it could be a book. Then for the children who are auditory, the way you do your lesson with all the expressions, or even the different children who are reading the lesson, it is good enough for them. And for the tactile child, within the 45 minutes, all you have to do is tell them, put your finger on this certain line, turn your page in this way, or so and so, can you stand up and read to the whole class, or so and so, can you do this activity over here. And this is like all you have to do, and these children, they start settling down. So whenever my teachers, they come to me, I always tell them to check all these areas: how you express the lesson, and what visuals you showed, and what activity did you do, even if it was for like 30 seconds.
Okay, inshallah, we take the next question. I'm not really sure if this is related to the topic. Okay, I'm just going to read the question out to you.
Okay.
How to deal with an adult who has grown with ADHD?
Okay, yeah, this is a specialized question. Probably you need to go to an expert. But again, as I said, that if this is a person who has ADHD, you can give them, again, the physical activities. Again, think of their attention span. Work with them on the working memory, where you teach them how to have a self-talk, how to develop discipline, break their task into smaller tasks. But yes, if they have diagnosed ADHD, you need to go to the expert for further advice.
We've come to an end. We've answered all the questions we had till now.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much on behalf of IOU and the audience for this amazing presentation. This was one of the most beneficial and interesting sessions I've attended throughout Solace till now, mashallah. May Allah reward you abundantly for this.
Jazakallah khairan.